Is this really abuse? Well, has he ever hit you? These are some of the misconceptions that survivors are up against as they start to heal from an abusive relationship. This is the second episode in the Rising Beyond video series, all to help support people understand how to actually support survivors who have left relationship abuse without victim blaming. I'm Sybil Cummin. I am a licensed professional counselor. I run the Rising Beyond community. I have the Rising Beyond podcast, and I have asked hundreds of survivors what you all need to know to support them in a better way so that they can move on to healing. So this seems like a really basic one, and yet so many people don't understand. What does abuse actually look like? Well, most people think of abuse as physical harm done from one person to another. And while that is a small piece of what relationship abuse, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, narcissistic abuse, these are all terms that you might hear, it is actually a small part of what abuse can look like. So what does it really look like? It is a willful pattern of power and control that happens systematically over time to have gain and maintain power and control over another person. And so very often this looks like coercive control. So what is coercive control? I mean, even just breaking it down, like coercion is kind of being gross and yucky to force someone to do something they don't want to do, being coerced. And so what that looks like is being coerced to stay in the relationship through different means to do specific things in the relationship, but it's really to create an unequal power imbalance between the two people in a relationship. So this can be threatening behaviors. This can be different oppressive behaviors, intimidating, gaslighting, anything that's really harmful and purposefully harmful. It's used to harm and punish. And so you may notice things or have heard things of financial abuse or economic abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, which is physical, but a lot of times people think if you're in a romantic relationship with someone, that sexual abuse isn't a real thing. It is a real thing. Emotional abuse, psychological abuse, these are all different forms of abuse and ways of gaining and maintaining power over someone else, preventing them from leaving, right? Financial abuse, if you don't have the financial means to leave, sometimes you're stuck and you won't leave. If they're using a lot of psychological abuse, gaslighting, that minimization of what they're doing, that coercive control to keep you stuck, it's really hard to leave. So when you're thinking about abuse, we are not thinking solely about physical abuse. And so many of my survivors and victims that I work with would prefer to walk away with bruises, because then they would get the support potentially that they need. Then people would believe them. If they were hit, they would be believed. If they had a bruise, you could see it and it would be believed. But a lot of intimate partner violence is hidden. So that is one of the things that so many survivors want you to know, is that you may not see it. And so it makes it harder to believe that it is abusive, but it's there. So that is just the one thing in this short second episode that you need to know to be able to better support the survivor in your life.